This is some packing material I sell at Home Depot. I use it for with packing dishes and stuff, but it's a light insulation. You don't need anything real heavy. Newspapers at times and wrap branches and trunks of trees with. The whole idea is this. A lot of times, especially if the air is still, if it's real windy, it doesn't hurt either if it's real cold, because that's a whole nother story. But basically, you can have a thermometer up here that registers 30, 34, 33 degrees. Unless the air is stirring up quite a bit, the temperature of the ground can be 3 or 4 degrees cooler. And I've seen this happen in the past where everything looks okay in the tree, and a few days later or a week or so later, all the leaves dry up and it dies. And what has happened is the temperature up here was okay, but down at the ground level where the cold air settles, what it's done, it has killed all the bark around the tree. And what happens is it's exactly the same if you just took a knife and scraped off all the bark. The tree's gonna die. So we're trying to protect just for frost or a cold, real cold when it's not real windy. Now, if you get temperatures down at say 30 degrees or 29, and the wind's blowing real hard, you're not gonna have a frost. But it may be if the wind's blowing out of the west, like this is the west here, the whole side of your tree on one side can have the bark killed, and the other side not so bad off on a bigger one. Now, if it gets that cold and it's that windy, you're gonna have branches at the top of your tree burnt off, okay? But the main thing is, even on a small tree like this, you maybe the tree's 4 or 5 feet tall. Maybe it's only an inch and a half, 2 inches in diameter. You may only be able to save the part that you've wrapped up, but you've kept it alive above the bud, okay? So if you can keep it alive above the bud, you've still got a tree that can come back. But if this may be a little late for some of you guys this winter already, but that's one way. Now, I will say something else that's interesting that I found out a number of years ago when I used newspaper instead of this material, which I think is pretty good to work with. On some upper branches, I wrap the trees up. I use newspaper, but it'd be the same theory. And I even wrap branches this high with newspaper. And we're up about 5 feet tall. And after I unwrapped them a couple of days later, everything that I'd wrapped was okay. But on the side that the wind was coming from, it was just like you'd taken a blowtorch and just burned it from the cold. So there's some heat retention in the branches. But whenever the wind's blowing real cold, those sides. But you can't take and wrap up a whole tree, but you can try to wrap up, especially if it's in your backyard or something like that, and try to wrap it up. Use newspaper, old magazines, whatever else, or run to a packing place and get like this, because it's somewhat insulating. But whatever you do, if you wrap Annonas, Atemoyas, sugar apples, if you wrap them with something that's not permeable to air, like this is a plastic or bubble wrap, take it off as soon as you can afterwards. I made a mistake of just leaving it on over the winter on some Annona trees I had, and they all decayed from the fungus. Mangoes don't have that problem, but I still suggest when danger of freeze is over, get all this stuff off your trees, because it's not particularly, it's better than freeze damage. But we can show you, if you want to show a picture of what we're doing right now on a couple of these other trees. There's that one like that. The branch real low. That should protect them from frost damage or a freeze if it's not real windy. If it's really windy, you don't have that. The air is stirring up, and it's going to be the same temperature at the ground as it's going to be up at 3 or 4 feet. But if the ground's real still, you can see a big difference within 2 feet of the ground. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
I want to get a close-up of what you were showing with the branches. I didn't really get it, so you could just reiterate.
Well, again, I have done this where I've taken the tree like this and wrapped it all the way up from the ground